The division of marital property is neither as mystical nor as simple as you might think. What we do in dividing the marital estate, and that's what it's called, is we have to figure out what all you own and what all you owe, and then categorize it first as what is your separate property, what is your spouse's separate property, and then what is marital property and marital debt for that matter. Once we have those items all together, we put them into a spreadsheet where we allocate different items to different people. And at the bottom of that spreadsheet, we have numbers that indicate whether there's an equalization number required in order to make sure that each spouse takes an equal or equitable share. And I know you hear the word spreadsheet and most people are like, what, forget this. But truthfully, it's just a simple tool. So for instance, we'll write down your bank accounts, your cars, your house, and then all of the values for those things and go down the line. This bank account goes to him, this bank account goes to her, this car goes to him, this car goes to her. We've sold the house, maybe half of the equity in the house goes to him and her. And at the very bottom, if it's not an equal number, generally the suggestion is we maybe transfer some of the extra money that was in his account over to her as an equalization payment. And just like that, the assets are divided. Inheritances under the law are generally going to be considered separate property. There's some caveats to that, mostly having to do with what was done with the inheritance once it was received. But inheritances and gifts are usually a person's separate property. A lot of questions come up around joint bank accounts in particular, and a joint bank account can be allocated to one spouse or it can be closed and split. And that really is a matter of preference. Some people want to have a joint account and have the other spouse removed from it because bill payments are set up through that or what have you. The bottom line is the value that is sitting in that account is going to be subject to division. When it comes to protecting your assets in a marriage, there are two tools that we use. One is a prenup, that is a contract you enter into prior to marriage that says what's going to remain yours, what's going to become marital, and sometimes in the event of divorce, what a spouse can expect to receive. A postnup is the same thing, except it happens after parties get married. Both of those are contracts that are binding on the parties. There are some rules that the court looks at once they're divorcing a party that would have to find that those were conscionable. That's just a term that says it wouldn't be patently unfair to enforce the contract as written. But that's the best way to go about, for instance, protecting your separate property, making sure that your separate property doesn't somehow later get considered as marital property. And for those reasons, families, meaning your mom and dad, might ask you to enter into a prenup, or your grandparents might suggest you enter into a postnup before leaving you family legacy money. Protecting assets during divorce is really about knowing what the nature of property is. And in order to do that, I generally suggest that you hold a consultation with an attorney who can advise you on not just what is your separate property, but ways that you can go about making sure that it stays your separate property.